Hey folks, and welcome to week number 4. First and foremost, you guys turned in your essays last week. That's great. I'm really excited about that. Expect that I will have those back to you in another week. So during week 5, look for feedback on essay number 1, and I'll give you guys some information during that week on how to make that happen, okay? So this week, go through the checklist, obviously, and watch the video. Well, you guys are doing that right now. Great. So this week, we're going to do some readings and annotations. Okay, so there are readings this week. There are 2 of those. What I'll note here is that you've got 2 readings. Both of them investigate the question of whether or not diet soda is useful in trying to lose weight. There are 2 scholarly articles, and they disagree on the fundamental answer to that question, okay? So the first thing you need to do, read those, work on how to write an annotation, and then write and submit annotations of those articles. Annotations are a lot like summaries, okay? Many of you learned how to annotate in high school. That meant taking notes on the text. This is just about taking and turning those notes into a functioning paragraph. So there's a sample here, and you can take a look at that, okay? That's job number 1. Now, then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at essay 2. Essay 2 asks you to investigate a question where you're looking at 2 scholarly sources that try to answer the same question and try to understand why they came to the conclusions they came to, particularly if they're different or even if they're just slightly, they vary a little bit, okay? If you identified a question in your work for essay 1, please feel free to use that question to guide essay 2. Okay, in other words, if you discover that the experts disagree on X in essay 1, certainly see if you can find scholarly studies looking at whether or not X is true for essay 2. Okay, so this week, all I'm doing is laying out the assignment for you. That's right here. Giving you a quick video on scholarly versus popular sources so you can ensure that you are identifying sources that are scholarly. And then I give you a quick tutorial here on how to look for scholarly articles. Next week, in week 5, you'll actually have be asked to put together a proposal for this essay. In other words, you're going to share with me the 2 articles you found and what you want to look at within those articles. Okay, but that'll be for next week. I just am getting you primed here, and I want you to start thinking about and trying to find those articles. If you struggle to find those articles, you need to contact me sooner rather than later so I can do what I can to help, or get in touch with one of the librarians, which you can always access by clicking that Chat with a Librarian button on the very front of our class. The other thing I will note is the proposal will be due earlier than normal in week 5. In other words, it's not going to be due on Monday the 20th. It's actually going to be due in the middle of the week. In other words, go and look at week 5 as soon as you finish week 4 so you kind of have an idea of what's coming. That stuff will all be in the calendar, and you'll be able to see it coming, but just so you don't get caught off guard, that proposal comes pretty early, so I can get your feedback on it relatively early, and you can start work on the essay, okay? If you've got any questions, don't hesitate to let me know. I'm here to help, and I'm glad to do it.